scripted.
About an hour ago. Okay, you can't go home again. Anybody in the class recognize that phrase? It's a famous book title. Okay, who wrote that?
You tell me.
Thomas Wolfe, published posthumously in 1940. You can't go home again. Yeah, this is kind of it was like an autobiographical novel. So it was a novel, it was fiction, but it was based on his own life experience. And I read it in school, and this, we have to read all these books when we're English majors. And came across it in the 60s. Any young people here? I mean, really young, like they should be out playing soccer or... Okay, I bet I heard some pre-teens. Yeah, so I read the book, didn't get much out of it, but that title, You Can't Go Home Again. And here are some of its challenging themes as relates to the bigger theme of this class. According to Wolfe, and it's true, home is not a fixed place, but a memory distorted by time. So we tend to be very nostalgic about the past. We tend to forget all the suffering and the struggles, and it's part of our trying to enjoy in the material world. So home is not a fixed place, but a memory distorted by time. And if we try to go back there, if we try to go back to this memory, as the main character in Wolfe's novel did, we'll probably find it impossible, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. For nostalgia, because we think we've lost something, and that sense of nostalgia, it can blind us to the reality of constant change. I didn't know it then, but I was later to find that corroborated in the Bhagavad Gita. Where does Krishna say in the Gita, everything is always changing? And there's many verses, but... Yeah? Okay, say. Kaumarang yovanam jara. As the embodied soul continuously, always. We're just passing through. Right now, as we speak, we're reincarnating. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from childhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. So that was pretty eye-opening when I read what Wolfe said. I mean, even materially, it was eye-opening. This was in the 60s, but as the 60s wore on, the Beatles, not my professors, became my teachers. So I switched my allegiance from my professors because they didn't know. I could see they didn't know anything. Remember my philosophy professor in one class, the first thing he said to us, the first thing on the first day, as he was puffing on his cigarette, that's what people all smoked in the 60s. He very proudly announced to us, I just thought I'd let you know that I don't know anything. So I thought immediately, well, why am I here? I can't learn anything from this guy. But, my parents paid the money and I was there. Okay. Yeah. So that was, it just got worse from there, right? Okay. So my allegiance, the people who really got me through the 60s were the Beatles, not my professors. So in 1968, on their White Album, who remembers the White Album? Okay, we got a couple of old timers. I saw a hand. All right. And if you go on YouTube, you can hear the whole thing today. So on their White Album, after there's a song, that John sings called Cry Baby Cry. And then at the end of the song, there's a very interesting little interlude between that song and another song called Revolution Number 9, where you hear Paul singing this. Can you take me back where I came from? Can you take me back? Brother, can you take me back? Very haunting, very haunting. He's trying to find out where he wants to know where he came from. Now that was in 68. The White Album came out in the fall of 68. So that got me thinking about my own, as we say, origin story. Where did I come from, right? Little did I know that the next year, 1969, the Beatles would meet our Srila Prabhupada, who spoke powerfully and authoritatively about karma, reincarnation, and going back to Godhead. Indeed, when the Beatles broke up in the spring of 1970, their last album, Let It Be, reflected some of their meeting with Srila Prabhupada. For example, their refrain, who remembers a song called Two of Us? It's a little minor song, but it's a very interesting song, George and John singing it. And their refrain in the song over and over again, they keep coming, after the verses, they keep coming back to this. We're on our way home. We're on our way home. We're going home. And then as the thing fades, then you hear them kibitzing, and then they're saying, yep, we're going home. We're on. Because Prabhupada had already told them that was the goal of life. We're on our way home, we're going home. Okay, so that was the spring of 70. That same spring of 1970, this is a history class, folks. I was becoming obsessed with my own origin story. So I went to New York City. That's where I was born. Lower East Side, about 22 blocks. Somebody clap for the Big Apple there? 22 blocks north of 26 2nd Avenue, where Prabhupada started this movement. Just before I joined the movement, this is very interesting. I did something. I went to, here we go. I went to New York City, and I was looking for the hospital where I was born, where I came out of my mother's belly. Because I was thinking materially, what's my origin story, right? Where did I begin? And I knew the address, 235 East 22nd Street in the Gramercy Park section of Manhattan, and the Lower East Side. So I knew the address from the birth certificate. But when I got there, guess what? It wasn't there. The building wasn't there. I was having an identity crisis. Wait a minute. The place is erased where I appeared? What's going on? And all of a sudden I thought about, you can't go home again. Maybe Thomas Wolfe was right. You can't find your origin. All right. So that was just before I met devotees that spring. This is like 55 years ago, right? That April, rather than get drafted by the U.S. Army to go fight in Vietnam, as LBJ used to say, Vietnam, used to go fight in Vietnam, I expatriated to Canada. Yes. 6 years later, of course, President Jimmy Carter pardoned all of us he gave us amnesty. I expatriated to Canada, where I found 10,000 expats just like me in Toronto. And it was there in Toronto, Canada, where that I first encountered Krishna's devotees. And we were, I was there. I didn't have any money. I knew what was wrong. The Vietnam War was wrong. I didn't know what to do. I was determined not to fight this ugly war. So I was rooming with a guy from 10,000 people, just like me. And one of the people was from Minnesota. Here's another Minnesotan right here that just walked in. And he said, and so we were always looking for food, free soup kitchens in Toronto. So my roommate from Minnesota said, I know what we can eat today. It's Sunday. The Krishnas have a feast, a free feast every Sunday. Well, I didn't know Krishna from the man in the moon, but free feast, I'm in, right? So we went down to this building on 40 Beverly Street, downtown near UT, University of Toronto. And it was amazing. Everything was familiar, even though I hadn't heard it. I got my first glimpse of the fact that maybe my origin goes back further than my mother's belly, because everything was familiar. Lord Chaitanya was familiar, Prabhupada's picture was familiar, and especially when they started chanting Hare Krishna. Wow, I know this. Nobody had to teach me the mantra, I knew it. That was really familiar. And then I read Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, because the temple president came by during the Sunday feast. That's always the closer, right? The Sunday feast. That's the deal. And he said, well, what do you think of this Krishna consciousness? So I had a cup of sweet rice in my left hand, and I was reading a book called Easy Journey to Other Planets, which we have. Yes, you can still read it. Just as relevant today as it ever was. I was getting intoxicated on the sweet rice, and I was getting really intoxicated reading this book, as was talking about anti-material bodies, anti-material time and space and planets, and how we could go to other worlds without a machine. So the temple president said, what do you think? What do you think of this Krishna consciousness? And I said, wow, this is amazing, but is any of it true? You're ready for the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. So anyway, he sold me a Gita, purple paperback, black Vishnu silhouette in the cover, and I just devoured it, in a few days. And then there's this one verse in the Gita, 15:7. Okay, all you Gita Wallace. Bhavai vangsho jiva loke jiva bhutak sanatanaha madakshashtan indriyani prakriti stani karshati. The living entities in the material world are my eternal fragmental parts. So now I was finding out I have no beginning at all. No beginning. And no end. Are my eternal fragmental parts. But due to the six senses, they are struggling very hard. Now, due to, what is it?
Six senses, which include mind.
Yeah, but before that, I'm losing my Gita here. Eternal fragmental parts, they are struggling due to conditioned life. They are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. But here in this world, misidentifying with changeable and perishable bodies, relationships, and scenes, everything is appearing and disappearing. We struggle and suffer. Yeah, we don't like it, because we want everything to last forever. The love of our life and our perfect, whatever we think is perfect. But it doesn't last forever. It's always changing. So, now we're going to redeem all this history. So just last month, I came back from Toronto a few days ago, and it was nice because I was teaching I do this thing called Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, seminars about Prabhupada. It's a 10-lesson journey where we deepen our relationship with Prabhupada, we deepen our commitment to his mission, we deepen our love for him. And I had a real neat group of students. In the Toronto temple, they have something called the Bhakti Academy. So these people were actually, studying deeply Krishna consciousness. So they just soaked it up. So while I was there, it just occurred to me, and I told them, I feel like I'm an honorary Torontonian or Canadian, because this is where I first met devotees in Toronto, Canada. And they said, really? Where? I said, well, have you been to, do you know 40 Beverly Street? Oh, we just had a reunion 3 weeks ago. Some of your old, God brothers and God sisters came and we did a tour and we went to that place. And so I said, oh, okay. Well, I'm going to walk there. It took me about 25 minutes to walk there. 40 Beverly Street. Guess what? It wasn't there anymore. I mean, the address was there, but it was like, that old house wasn't there, and now in its place there was a townhouse, 40 with a 40 on it. It was corner of Beverly and Phoebe, and I thought, oh no, it's true. We can't go home again. Thomas Wolfe was right. We can't go home again. Not materially, but spiritually. And I knew that, of course, from reading the Gita, but I had let myself become a little nostalgic about that old building on 40 Beverly Street where I walked in and I first encountered devotees. Yeah. That's where I first heard the Hare Krishna mantra, at least in this life, which I already knew, so I guess maybe I'd heard it before. And that was the first step home I took, really home, back to God, spiritually, way back in 1970. Now, since then, 1970, there's only about maybe 25 temples in the movement, mostly in America. Since then, Prabhupada has inspired so many little boys and girls. We'll see you in 10 years, 15 years. That was the first step I took way back in and Prabhupada since then has inspired so many portals. That was my portal. Have you read Harry Potter? Where did Harry Potter enter the wizard world? Station what? 9 3/4. Excellent. You're a wizard. So that 40 Beverly Street place, that was my first portal to Krishna's world. But since then, Prabhupada has inspired so many portals to enter Krishna's world and start the journey. And this Tucson temple is a portal to Krishna's world right here. Now, so the Gita that I read that woke me up to the spiritual reality, you could think of the Gita as a kind of manual of how to start our spiritual journey home. You get these hints. The Gita is like the ABC. It's like the beginner's manual. And we have more maps. It's better than Google Maps. Google Maps can't take you back to Godhead. It can only take you around this time-bound place. And we have more maps to help us continue that journey till we take it all the way. I'm going to give you a sample. We have this book too. This is multi-volume Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's the definitive biography of the Golden Avatar, Lord Chaitanya, written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who says, this is Madhya Lila in chapter 19, text 151 through 155. Yeah, here we go. This is you might wonder, well, before I take the journey, tell me what about the journey, because I don't know if I want to go on it, So you're not going to take the journey unless you get some information about it, right? So here's what happens when we go on the journey. Brahmanda Brahmiteko na bhagyavan jeev, Guru Krishna prasade pai bhakti lata bij. So Kaviraj Goswami says, according to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Oh, looking for home. Nothing ever quite lasts, does it? Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary systems. Yeah, we get good karma, we can bounce up to heaven. And some of them are going down into the lower planetary systems. We get really bad and we go to hellish conditions. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. By the mercy of both Krishna and the spiritual master, such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service. So when I walked through that portal in the spring of 70 and heard the Hare Krishna mantra, that was kind of a seed, and then it really germinated, a little over a year later, when I committed to the path, the Bhakti Marg, and Prabhupada turned Richard Hall into Suresvara Das. And then the next verse says, so what happens after that? Okay, so I get a seed and it germinates. When a person receives the seed of devotional service, he should take care of it by becoming a gardener and sowing the seed in his heart. If he waters the seed gradually by the process of hearing and chanting, the seed will begin to sprout. So it's like every day especially when it's hot. Now it's getting a little cooler, so we can not have to water quite as much. But if we don't water, the creepers, they're just going to die. So we have to water our devotional creeper by hearing and chanting. As one waters the creeper of devotion, the seed sprouts, and the creeper gradually grows to the point where it penetrates the walls of this universe. Wow. This is not just pie in the sky when you die, but right in this lifetime we get a kind of God perception and goes beyond the causal ocean, lying between the spiritual and the material world. It attains the Brahman effulgence, the great white light, the darling of the impersonalists. And penetrating through that stratum, it reaches the spiritual sky and the spiritual planet, Goloka Vrindavan. And then, here's the last verse I'm going to read in this section. Being situated in one's heart and being watered by hearing and chanting, the bhakti creeper grows more and more. In this way, it attains the shelter of the desired tree of the lotus feet of Krishna, who is eternally situated in the planet known as Goloka Vrindavan, in the topmost region of the spiritual sky. So it takes shelter at Krishna's lotus feet, and then the fruits are pure love of God. And that's how we can actually go home again. Yes. All right. So I have 5 minutes left to the conch blows. Maybe you have some questions or comments about how you can't go home again materially, but spiritually, we must go home. This is the goal of human life, not simply to wander around this place looking, for some kind of illusory happiness that's always slipping through our fingers. Oh, yes, Jai Jagadish Prabhu.
Since our real home is an extremely exalted place and state of mind, doesn't it require a great deal of patience?
Amen, brother. Well, as Prabhupada says in his purport to Gita 272, one can attain Krishna consciousness or divine life at once, or it may not happen for millions of years. So what's the difference? Then Prabhupada says something very mysterious. It is only a question of understanding and accepting the fact. What is that fact? The fact is that I'm an eternal servant of Krishna, but even though I'm on the path, I tend to divide my time between trying to serve Krishna, and then I think, well, maybe I can just enjoy a little bit over here. So, and you see in your own association, in your own consciousness, how we're more or less devotional, or more or less materialistic. So how do we speed that up? How do we speed that up? By associating with people who are sincere and serious. That doesn't mean glum. It just means, determined. Let's do it. Let's go home. We're on our way home. Yeah, back to Godhead. So yeah, it does require patience. But the first person we have to be patient with is ourselves. Give ourselves a little grace. I mean, how long have we been here in the material world? Do you know? Eons. Eons and eons. Yeah, confirmed. And we've been here so long. It's called time immemorial. That means you can't even remember how long you've been here, right? So we have to be a little patient. And there's no wonder we're conditioned. But I can tell you, after 55 years, I see a little progress. Okay, is that all right?
Thank you for
Nadia.
a wonderful talk. I was wondering if you could say something about what the fruits of pure love of God looks like.
What does it look like?
Yeah,
What does it look like, or what does it feel like?
either whatever you like.
Well, I by associating with serious and sincere people, I get a glimpse of what it looks like. Theoretically, I can read about it. Pure love is described by the same author of this book, is like gold. And what passes for love in the material world, which is really just our own kind of lust, is like iron. And pure love means just trying to please completely, totally the senses of the beloved, Krishna. So Krishna, for example, he's dancing with the gopis, the cowherd girls, and they're trying to please Krishna, and he's trying to please them. It's an endless dance of trying to please the other. So that's pure love. And the closest thing we get to that in the material world, as Prabhupada would say, is like the love of the mother for the child. Because to be a mom, whew, right? It's, it never ends, right? I can see behind, yes. Yeah, so the mother will sacrifice practically anything, yeah. But, yeah. So in materially, we're always subtly or grossly, we're just trying to please our own senses, and then it breaks. You know, that's as soon as you don't please my senses, I don't love you anymore. Or as soon as I don't please your senses, you don't love me anymore. That's not love. That's lust. The only lust makes the world go round. What does Prabhupada say? The flickering mundane force, how does that go? The flickering something, lust is just, I'll just read it to you. 437. Arjuna says, by what is one impelled to act sinfully, as if engaged by force? Krishna says, it is lust only, Arjuna. What chapter is that? 6. Which is born of the contact with the material modes of passion.
337.
337? Yeah, you're right. What am I saying? 6. Kama Esha. All right. Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Rajo Guna Samudbhava, Mahashano Mahapapma, Vidhinam Mihavairinam. It is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion, and later transformed into wrath, because we can never satisfy the passion. It just keeps burning like fire. And then when we get frustrated, we get angry. Wah! And which is the all-devouring, sinful enemy of this world. Yeah, this gets so violent, right? Okay, I'm looking in that. I guess that's not it. Anyway, lust makes the world go round. Okay. So let us go back to Godhead, and sometime within the portal, there's more portals, and this portal is about to open, and we're going to enter Krishna's world, and we can practice singing and dancing our way back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Awesome.